in this economy, it's tough to get a job under the best of circumstances. You already had the Romney people going after you. You had the extreme right searching for everything they could. You had this count against you. So you wound up, and this is the next part of the story that I think is really important also for people to understand, that once you wound up working in retail, that's a tough life for anyone.
It really is. And we so often don't even think about the people behind the counter, the people stocking the shelves. I certainly didn't. And the last retail experience I had was back in the 80s when I was a kid. And it's very easy to dismiss or overlook some of the things that you're asked or required to do. But I think that it has changed significantly from my last memory of retail experience. I mean, I don't ever remember having to be searched going in and out of work. I mean, we had to make sure that the cash register came to account, but short of that, it wasn't anything involving your personal, your person and being suspected of stealing something, whether you had or not. And this is common. The bag check policy is common. The search policy is common. The fact that you can't sit is common. The fact that you have cameras watching your every move is common. I mean, people are upset about the NSA now. I mean, a retail environment, it's 10 times that bad because they're watching you, and there's really nothing you can do about it if you want to get paid. So it was all part of some indignities that I had to suck up and just do. The hardest factor of it was mental, because I had gone from a position where people paid attention to what I said to a place where I wore a T-shirt as a uniform and I was responsible for fetching things. So it really was a comeuppance and a humbling, humiliating, embarrassing experience to go from one part to another. What's more important, however, is the fact that people go through this every day who don't really have a choice. This is what they do.
Right. And I think that, one of the things that made your article so compelling was that because you hadn't been in that world, it's like going from an air-conditioned room to the outdoors when there's a heat wave. You feel the heat that much more when it's a transition. And I think you felt it. I mean, you felt that, for example, I've written a lot about the fact that civil liberties are suspended in the workplace nowadays, the kind of physical searches that you were subjected to, or if you had even a white collar job where the company gives you a cell phone, they track your movements inside and outside the office building and so on. This has all, been tested, it's legal, and people don't walk out because they need the $10 an hour as you needed it. And so I think you made it, for a lot of us, I think you made it concrete and real, those levels of indignity. So what happened then? Just in the minute or so we've got left, you have managed to escape the world of sporting goods retail, and what's going on now?
Well, I have, and it was a very important lesson. I thought it was very valuable. I didn't see it at the time, but it changed me, and it changed a lot of my perspective. What's going on now is I'm continuing to write about this. I'm doing some work for the Institute of Policy Studies to examine the new economy and how people have fallen through the cracks, and the fact that we now have a new class that's developing, which is essentially the working middle class poor, which is a mishmash of terms that we haven't quite sorted out yet. But there are so many people like me. The one reaction that I had that was almost constant in the reaction that I had to the story, which is pretty big, was the fact that people were saying, yes, it happened to me. Yes, it's happened to my cousin, my brother, my uncle, my cousin, my wife. So there's a lot of stories out there need to be told. I'm doing part of that on a blog, which is called middleclassandbroke.blogspot.com. middleclassandbroke.blogspot.com. People can read about some of the things that I've observed in my neighborhood and some of the things I've observed in my transition from white collar to working class.
Well, Joe Williams, thanks so much for being with us. Thanks so much for sharing your story so honestly, and keep up the good work.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You bet. I'm RJ Eskow. We will be right back, and this is The Zero Hour.